Welcome to the Untitled Podcast. Leave your egos at the door. Today we have a very special guest that I am excited to announce, Collin Nichols. But before we get there, I do want to announce today's sponsor. Today's sponsor for our podcast is brought to you by Rocks. Pick one up. Could be worth something. So, Collin and I have been going to the same church, I guess, since I've been in Troy, and I didn't really know much about you other than I think one time we ran into each other at church and I was wearing like a David Goggins hat or a shirt, and you asked me about it and we kind of chatted a little bit. Our mutual love of David Goggins staying hard.
Of course.
And that kind of turned into, you came and helped me out at the Dream Center one time, which I'm not doing at the moment. And you were, at the time, I think you were starting to do, you had just gotten your CrossFit licensing, right?
Correct. Yep. I just got my CrossFit coaching certification.
Yeah. So you had just got certified to do that. And then life happens. And now 6 months later, we're sitting down doing a podcast together to talk a little bit about everything. So I don't necessarily want to over introduce you. We'll just get to know you simultaneously while everyone gets to know you. So the big thing, and I can see it on your shirt right there, Movement 112. I do want to talk about this, but before we get there, tell me give me a 30-second intro. If you were introducing yourself to a complete stranger, what would you tell them?
If I was introducing myself, I'm 22 years old. I'm a trooper for the Missouri State Highway Patrol. That's my career job. And then I'm a avid fitness advocate. Huge into the fitness industry, working out, training, coaching, all that kind of stuff.
I just want you to know you made me feel really old.
I know. I
did not know you were 22.
I mean, I'm only 22, which is kind of crazy. Like when I coach people or try to give people advice.
Yeah.
Most of the time they're older than me. And especially in my job as law enforcement, I'm giving people tickets, doing what I have to do for my job. And how old are you? I'm 22. And they're like, I feel like crap. But being young, it's nice because I get to share my experiences with people as I learn.
Seriously, I not that I thought you were older because you look older, but I just assume, one, like now that I'm 33, I forget that not everyone's my age, and as young as I feel sometimes, I also have like back problems, so I feel old as hell sometimes. And when you just told me you were 22, I'm like, shit, I'm old. This guy is so young and he's just killing life right now.
I'm trying.
So how long have you been doing Highway Patrol?
Actually, August 1st, so few days ago, hit my 2-year mark from starting the academy. So I've been on the road for about a year and a half of actually doing the work. I was in the academy for 6 months.
Wow. So did you know you wanted to do that like right out of high school? Because that's pretty young.
I knew I wanted to do it actually before high school.
Okay.
I've always wanted like work in law enforcement, specifically the patrol, just because of the standards that they uphold. And I kind of going into college was going in between certain careers and different things like that. And I ended up switching my major my freshman year from agriculture to criminal justice. And it just happened that one of my classes for criminal justice, the patrol came in and they call it Patrol University. They choose a school every year and they go there and they just talk about the patrol. The very first day, one of the recruiters came in and said, is anyone actually interested in joining? I raised my hand, and then within a few months, I was in the academy. So
dang.
Crazy. Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. I knew you worked as a highway patrolman. I don't know. I just didn't realize how young you were. Like, that's a pretty big decision, like a huge career to get into that young. Because, I mean, realistically, you could put in 20, 25 years and still just be in your mid 40s and have a whole second career if you wanted to when you were done. If you chose to stay in that long. I don't know what your intent is.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I'm going to try. I'm staying as long as I can, as long as I'm loving it. I still love my job to this day. I love going out every single day and doing it. It is one of the cool things about being so young is, and I think 4 or 5 more years, I can start actually pulling out of retirement already, and I won't even be 30.
Yeah.
It's not full retirement, but nonetheless, it is cool being young. At one point when I was in the academy and after I graduated, I was the youngest trooper on the road. Now it's changed because younger people go in. Because I was 20 years old when I went in. You only had to be 21 when you graduated. So I turned 21 about 2 months before we graduated.
Wow. Dang, man. I kind of want to ask you tell me some crazy stories about it.
Go ahead.
Well, first off, You ever been in like a high speed pursuit type thing, like 100 plus miles an hour?
Oh yeah, a couple of times. I just had one a few months back. I won't say any names, obviously, or
Say some names.
some crazy details, but I had one. We're going west on 70 from 5th Street, St. Charles area.
Yeah.
And he passed me going 104 miles per hour. Like I was driving. It was not like I was sitting on the shoulder. I was driving and he passes me going 104. So I pull him over. He gets off the side of the road and stops. Asks for his driver's license and insurance. He hands me his insurance, weirdly. And I was like, I asked for his driver's license. Like, I don't have it. It's on. I have a picture of my phone though. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And if anyone's listening, if you've ever been pulled over by the highway patrol and you've gotten brought back to your car, it's a very common thing we do because it's easier to talk, easier to have conversations. We kind of bring you into our world, make you a little uncomfortable. And so I asked him to come back to my car so I can get his name down from his phone. And after I said that, he took off from me. And so I ran back to my car, ended up chasing him past Lake St. Louis. His car ended up catching on fire while he was driving. It broke down.
Way.
So he had to jump out of his passenger side window while he was going like 25 miles per hour. Car crashed into the median, burnt to the ground. Yeah.
What an idiot.
It was all on camera, which is the coolest thing. Most of the time when like crazy or cool things happen in our line of duty, it's not caught on camera unless you have a body cam.
Yeah.
But I don't have a body cam yet because we're slowly getting those. But I have it all on my car camera, which is kind of cool.
Dude, that is insane. What's the fastest you've ever driven in one of those things? Those cop vehicles are like super fast, aren't they?
They have the EcoBoost in them.
Okay.
I have an Explorer, so I have the SUV, so it's not as fast as the Chargers, but I've gotten up to 134.
And was that in pursuit or just want to stretch the legs a little bit and find out what's going on?
I was on my way to a call. There was a possible school shooting going on. So whenever you kind of hear that, everything you get kind of tunnel vision and you're getting there as fast as you can. Yeah. So luckily it ended up being a false alarm. We cleared the entire school, but that was definitely was the fastest I've ever gone.
Do you ever have to deal with those like sovereign citizen type people that are like, I'm not giving you my license, I'm not giving you my name, you can blow me kind of thing?
I haven't had anyone not give me their name yet like that. I have had a couple that just won't talk to me. No, they like the term I'm traveling. They're just travelers and they won't register their vehicle or pay sales tax, anything like that, because they don't believe they have to. So they just won't have anything registered. And at that point, it's not worth me making a big deal about it. Have your citations, go on your day. I'm not going to put myself or other people in danger just because.
There's some weird people out there, man.
Very weird.
You chose to put yourself in like harm's way every single day, and that's a tough place to be. You have a girlfriend, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Or you got not a fiance yet?
Not a fiance, not yet. She's she's starting vet school this August.
If she hears this, it's over.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm sure that's even tough on her knowing that you're out there just trying to keep the world safe every single day.
Has its struggles.
Yeah. Now, do you guys do 12s just like the police? I know highway patrols, it's law enforcement, but it's like not necessarily like a police officer. Do you guys do shifts the same way where you're like on 12 for a certain amount of weeks and you switch between days and nights?
No, so right now I'm on 8s. So I work 8-hour shifts.
So just like a normal job.
Yeah, just like a normal job.
Okay.
You can work 10s if you have the manpower to. So we have a couple in my zone that work 10s. I choose 8s because it gives me time throughout the day to do other things. But we do rotate a month of nights, month of days, month of nights, as much as we can. Sometimes we do 2 weeks of days or 2 weeks of nights. I've asked to work permanent nights, so I'm kind of been doing that for right now.
When you say nights, what do you mean, like 2 to 10 p.m. or do you mean like overnights? So
my night shift is I work in a more of a rural county out in Warren County, so we don't have to have a trooper on 24 hours of the day. In St. Charles County, there has to be a trooper on 24 hours a day. So like your night shift, you have an overnight car that's like 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. And then you have night shifts where like 4 to midnight or 6 to 2. In Warren County, since there's not one on 24 hours a day, I work 4 to midnight throughout the week. And then on Friday and Saturday, if I work a Friday or a Saturday, it's normally 6 to 2, just because it's the weekend. People are out later than normal. So like, as far as staying in shape for someone like you, who literally you have to sit down all day, like, do you get out of your car at any point and like get in a walk or something? Like, how do you keep yourself active? Because you're a pretty active guy, and having to sit down in a car all day, like, how do you handle that? Yeah, it's rough. One of the big things I found is if I keep stopping cars, I get out of my car and I have to walk that way. You know, and it sounds funny, like, oh, you're just trying to stop, but it gets me up and gets me out of my car, because sitting down, it kills you.
Yeah.
You just sit down all day long.
Yeah.
And then like when I go to fuel up my car, some people might think it looks goofy, but I put it in, start fueling my car, and I just walk laps around the gas tank in my car. I just walk in laps until it's done. Then I get back in my car, get out that way.
Yeah, I think there's so many people now that they're doing the same thing, just not in a car. They're just sitting at a computer all day or sitting at a desk all day. And I know that I did that for a long time before I lost weight, and that was really tough to actually like try to change some habits about that. And I always tell people, like, create time throughout the day instead of sitting on your phone on your break. Like, just get up and go for a walk for a little bit, or find some time throughout the day. So like, I was curious how you managed to do that, because you're in a different spot pretty much every single day wherever you're going. Like, I mean, you're in the same county for the most part, but like where you are at 4 p.m. on a certain day versus another day could be completely different.
Yeah, you have to like pick and choose your times where you can get out of your car, and especially like, because our job isn't just driving around all day. There's a lot of paperwork that goes into it. So sitting in the office and you're watching your video bag, typing your report, and before you know it, 2.5 hours have gone by, and you're like, I've been sitting in this chair for 2.5 hours.
Dang.
So luckily for us, our office is the National Guard Armory in Warrenton.
Okay.
So they have a gym in there. So I work out there like right now, but they also have like a big area, so I can go in there and kind of walk down back and forth for a couple minutes, take my time and then start typing.
Has it been hard to keep your physical fitness up over the last year plus of being there? Or have you found it pretty much just is what it is?
I think it's changed. I was working in St. Charles County for a while, and I would work overnights, like 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. I found when I was working those, it was really hard because you're kind of really tired. And my body, the way it works is the sun's up, you're up. Like, it's time to go. Most like most people are, once you're ready to go, you're ready to go. But trying to go to sleep at 5 a.m. and then you wouldn't get much sleep, and then just your energy to go work out, go do something was really hard. But for the most part, I think you have to find the time and just kind of make sacrifices. You might not have to be able to go out or go do this, go do that, but you have to find the sacrifices within it.
Yeah. You almost have to create them. It's like, I hear people say that a lot, like, and not to rebut on it, but it's like, you have to find time, and it's like, well, try creating it. Like, try creating time in your day to do those things rather than looking to find it. Like, I always tell people that time is like a currency, and if you're trying to live off the money you find on the ground, you're never going to find enough to live. But if you go out and create something, create that time, create that currency, like, you're going to be able to sustain yourself. And just like you, it's like you're creating times in your day where you force yourself to get active and do something regardless of the circumstances of your job. You're not going to let that detract from your goals, whatever those be. Have you always been in shape? Like, have you always been physically active and fit for most of your life? Or was there ever like a time when you were not in shape or struggling? I know we were talking a little bit off the podcast. You just recently had surgery and you're recovering from that, from an injury you had when you were younger. But, has that always been the case that you've been pretty active?
Yeah, I've always been active. I wouldn't say I was always healthy. I'd always say I was active, though. I grew up ever since I was a little kid playing football, wrestling, baseball, and then played football through high school, played college football until I went to the academy. Obviously, the academy is very rigorous. And so I'd say I was always active, but I wasn't always healthy.
What do you mean by not always healthy?
I dealt with an eating disorder.
Okay.
Yeah, which I've never really shared it unless some people come to me that have something like that. But I had an eating disorder when I was trying to lose weight. I would say in high school, I was heavier, way heavier than I was at the heavy. I was probably around 245. But again, I was playing football, so it was about getting big, strong. But I was definitely carrying a lot more body fat than I am now. And I was a decent football player, so I was never really looked at myself in the mirror. I was like, holy cow, you're getting kind of big, dude. Because I was like, I can still perform. I can still do this, still do that. And it really hit me. I went to a camp in Arkansas State for over like a summer camp. And I went down there and you had to weigh in and do your height. And I've never really done that when you go to camp. Normally you just like, when you register, you're like, 220 pounds and then 6 foot, 220 pounds. That's what I put for everything. So that's what I was. Yeah. I went down there and I can't remember the exact number. It was like 237, 240 ish. And at that point I knew I wasn't even at my heaviest. So my heaviest was probably around 245.
Wow.
Yeah. And then from there, going into college football, I lost weight, just trying. And at that point, it was like a healthy way of losing weight. I was just watching what I ate and working out more, doing more conditioning because I want to get ready for college football because I knew it was a whole different world. But once I saw the numbers start dropping on the scales when it got bad, and then I became bulimic, anytime I would eat, I would just throw it up. And it wouldn't even be bad things. I would order like a grilled chicken sandwich and a salad from a restaurant. I would eat it. And just because I didn't know exactly how many calories were in it, I would go throw it up. And then I'd come back out. I'd go to the bathroom, come back out. I'd be like, yeah, I'm good. I was just going to the bathroom.
Yeah. I hear about those two things tied together is like kind of I don't want to necessarily call it OCD, but like that idea of I need to know exactly what's going in my body being tied to a lot of that with eating disorders. I kind of had the opposite where I would eat everything and I would just veg out and not throw it up. But I would eat terrible things. So, and I'd feel horrible about it, just not to the point of that. And I would say I can diagnose myself or whatever it is, but it's like I bordered on that like binge eating thing where I would just eat 10,000 calories in a day just because I felt bad and do that over. And I mean, when people try to when I see people that are really heavy now, I don't necessarily shame them, but I almost feel like, man, you got to try sometimes to get that big. Cause I know that, like I've tried to gain weight on purpose just to show people like how to lose weight again. And I'll be eating 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day. And it's like hard to do it now. And I'm like, how was I eating 6 to 8, 10,000 calories a day? Sometimes when I go back, like it's tough, but man, I had no idea that you struggled with an eating disorder. That's rough, dude. Especially I don't want to, but you don't hear about it as much in guys. It probably happens fairly often in guys. Guys just don't like to talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. You could definitely see a lot more in females. That's more like anorexic and bulimic. You see a lot of that and very outspoken in females, which is good. And they need to keep talking about it, but you don't see a lot on the men's side. And I think it happens a lot more because of people wanting the certain aesthetic, looking a certain way.
Yeah.
And it became that way for me. And I think the biggest thing for it is is the knowledge portion of it. And I wouldn't, if I could go back, I wouldn't change what I did.
Yeah.
Because I learned from it. Now I wish I never did it but I wouldn't change that it happened because I know so much more now. Like you said, like the eating bad. I remember when I'd come home from like football practice and luckily this happened to me when I was younger. And this is kind of why I got on that bigger side, but I'd grab bag of Doritos and a gallon of chocolate milk. I'd sit there and eat out of the bag and drink out of the jug, and it's like, you have no idea what you're putting in your body. And then you start learning and you're like, oh, okay. Like this is what I need to put in my body. And then after I was making myself throw up and getting it out, and I didn't realize how much damage I was doing to myself. Like I'm just losing weight. That's all I'm doing. Yeah. And then I started researching. I'm like, I'm killing myself. Like if I don't stop this, I'm going to kill myself. I'm damaging my organs, all that kind of stuff.
Now I know that you said you were a wrestler. Did any of that have to do with like wrestling, like weight cutting stuff, or was it more? It was just more of the mental side of like, I don't know how many calories I'm putting in, so I need to get this out of my system.
Yeah, it was more the mental side. Like, and this happened after high school, so it never happened. Okay. Yeah, it never happened in high school. And I talk about that with some because I have friends that were very successful wrestlers. One of my cousins is a very good wrestler, and they're cutting weight. They're getting down.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that feels because I never had to do it. Because I told my wrestling coach, because I wrestled my junior, I grew up wrestling. I didn't my freshman and sophomore year. I did my junior and senior year. And the reason I did is because my football coach came up to me. He's like, hey, you're playing running back next year. I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, then you're wrestling. I was like, what? He's like, then you're wrestling. I was like, okay, I guess I'm wrestling.
Interesting.
So I wrestled, and I told the wrestling coach, we kind of knew, he's like, I'm not cutting weight because I want to stay a certain size for football. And luckily we had very good wrestlers in the weight categories below me to where I didn't have to cut down there. I wrestled 220 pounds. So I just naturally kind of watched what I eat for a week, and I would get down under 220 and wrestle around 215. So
do you still do anything like that, like jiu-jitsu or any martial arts that kind of takes advantage of what you learned in wrestling?
Yeah, I don't as much anymore as I want to, but as soon as I got out of the academy, I started doing jiu-jitsu pretty heavy. I love it to this day. I haven't been able to recently because of my tailbone issue that I've had, but as soon as this gets healed, I plan on going back even just once a week if I can get back, especially with my job. The confrontation side of it definitely could save my life one day, be able to do that. But wrestling helped me so much in that. Like my very first day, I don't know what I'm doing on the mat as far as jiu-jitsu goes, but I know how to move my body and wrestle. And everybody's like, you wrestled, didn't you? I'm like, yeah, I wrestled. They're like, yeah, I can tell.
Yeah. Wrestling, so here's a funny story. I signed up for wrestling when I was in 6th grade. I made the wrestling team, and then they put us in one of those like leotard things. And I was so self-conscious because I had not hit puberty yet, and I did not have a great bulge going on in the leotard. And even in the cup was so uncomfortable that I literally quit wrestling because I was like, I don't have a good enough bulge. I'm not
have it yet. You gotta wait.
I didn't have it yet. I was a late bloomer. But yeah, the leotard kept me out of wrestling. It might have saved me. Might have saved me some years of being fat if I could have figured out.
Man, try jiu-jitsu. You don't have to wear a leotard. You wear a gi.
I know. I would love to. It's one of those things that I want to do just because, one, it looks like a great workout, and two, I think it'd be great for my flexibility and my mental health. Like, I think that there was some, I think it's Joe Rogan, he said one time that like mixed martial arts jiu-jitsu is like high level problem solving with dire consequences. So it's like that idea of like trying to solve this puzzle of this person who I'm up against and not tear like a ligament or like get choked out or something crazy. And jiu-jitsu just seems like a really fun sport to play. It looks tough though. I know they just opened one up over in Moscow Mills, I think.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I would have Gracie Humada. Shout out to them in Winsville. Is kind of where I go. Phil's the instructor there. They have there's a lot of cops that go there, so it's really cool. But it is definitely one of those things where it's so mentally good for you. I can't remember. I was listening to it, and like men were made to fight for something. You know, if you have to have something to go towards, and even just that hour of and it's one of those things. It's you versus the other guy out there. It's you can't. No one's there to help you. So either you're gonna win or you're gonna get choked out. Or you're gonna break. You know, it's
when you start doing like jujitsu stuff. Do you have like? Is there like a? How do you deal with that? Like, because in wrestling, you're not. I haven't really seen in wrestling where someone's like legit getting rear naked choked, like to the point of they're out unconscious. But like in jujitsu, do you just let yourself go one time to find out what it's like to see the other side?
I think you can if you want to. I know in the academy we actually did, and it was up to you. So they
no way.
Yeah, we were because we trained jiu-jitsu in the academy, and they said if you want to go out, you can. Like there's people monitoring you and everything. It's very safe. And I chose to because I want to know the point of where I'm about to go. Like if I'm out on the road fighting somebody. If I'm about to go, okay, I might need to use some tools on my belt. You know, so for me, I did it because I've only ever done it once. I've only actually been out once. And I did it so I know that point. And now I know, I was like, okay, when I start seeing black little dots, I'm about done at that point.
When you wake up from that, is it like one of those things like what happened?
When I woke from it, I didn't think it happened. I'm like, no, I was fine. They're like, no, you're out. I'm like, no, I was fine. Like I remember everything. They're like, no, you're out.
Yeah. I've been knocked unconscious once, and it was one of those things that when I got up off the ground, I was like, what just happened? Like, because I was just riding a motorcycle and I crashed and I was out by myself. Luckily, it wasn't that bad when I was younger. So it was like when I got up and saw my bike kind of crashed into something and my handlebar kind of messed up, I'm looking at it and I go, how did I get here?
That happened?
Yeah, what? That really just happened. Man, do you watch any like MMA?
I do. Not as much as I used. I used to a lot more.
Well, there's some guy right now who's a wrestler named Bo Nickel who is just destroying people in the UFC. Like he throws a pretty heavy punch too.
Yeah, I mean, you watch the best guys in the UFC. They're the best in jiu-jitsu. You know, you have to know how to strike at the end of the day. But once you get on the ground, if someone doesn't know what to do with their body.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look at a lot of those guys that are absolutely dominating UFC, wrestling is their base. A lot of them are at least some form of wrestling. Like John Jones was a wrestler, Daniel Cormier was a wrestler, Kamaru Usman was a wrestler, Aljamain Sterling was a wrestler, and all of them like NCAA title wrestlers, like national champion wrestlers. I think Cormier's got Olympic gold medals. So like there's obviously something to it. It's not just the physical part, but that mental part of like being able to put yourself in a compromising position and not panic.
Yeah. I definitely like, if I could tell, when hopefully, God willing, when I have kids one day, if there's one thing I'm going to have them do, it's going to be wrestle. And I wish when I was younger, I took it and even in high school, I wish I would have taken it way more serious because I kind of was just doing it to get by, like to keep doing a sport. And I wish I would have taken it way more serious.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just part of life.
Yeah, live and you learn.
Yeah, live and you learn. Well, not to kind of switch subjects here, but I do want to know more about this Movement 112 thing because I have seen you post about it and I've seen some of the pictures and videos from it. You're obviously wearing the shirt. So tell me a little bit about this Movement 112 thing. Is this a CrossFit thing or is this something completely different?
I wouldn't call it CrossFit. It's a fitness-based group classes.
Okay.
So the reason I started it was I was coaching at CrossFit Trenches, the old gym I went to. And through there, I got my CrossFit coaching certification. I was coaching there. They ended up closing down. The owners just want to retire. So they closed it down. They sold it to a church. But I was trying to find that next thing to coach. And I've always had aspirations to open up my own gym one day.
Okay.
And the whole reason it's not called the CrossFit or I don't put CrossFit in the name is because I don't think CrossFit's made for everybody. I love CrossFit. I love competing in it. I love doing handstand walks and snatching and all the complicated movements, bar muscle ups and all that kind of, I love that, but it's not made for everybody. So I wanted to create something that's made for everybody.
Okay.
And the whole movement thing actually comes from this gym in Columbia my girlfriend goes to. It's called Vigor Movement. And the two owners of that and the two coaches are kind of in the same boat. They love CrossFit. They don't compete anymore, but they loved CrossFit. They did CrossFit. That's how they grew up, like got in the fitness industry. But they wanted to find something that was more compatible with the everyday person. Because a lot of people hear CrossFit and they get scared. Because you see the freaks online and all the complicated stuff. And you're like, I'm never going to be able to do that. Yeah. When in reality, you can. You just have to have the right coach. And so I took CrossFit name out of it, kept the movement. And so it's just group classes. Right now we're trying to meet every week on Saturdays, just with my work schedule. It's easier to meet in the morning. So we have one this Saturday on August 12th at 8 a.m. Hopefully the next one is going to be next Saturday at 8 a.m. So you can follow the page or kind of keep in touch because right now the workouts are I've had them completely free and half the money is going to a scholarship fund to help people at Journey Church go to Burundi.
Oh, awesome,
for the mission trip. Yeah. So I don't know. I know we've raised over $150 at this point because we're just taking donations and then half the money is going to get new equipment because everyone can, see the gym back. It's equipment work stuff is not cheap.
It's not.
Yeah.
This cost me an arm and a leg. I don't know if I really want to tell people how much money this gym is costing.
Yeah. I'll tell people how much, we make in donations for the trip. I'm not going to tell them how much I spent on the equipment for them. But yeah, so we bring people out. We meet at Fairgrounds Park in Troy and we just do functional fitness movements, and you can call it boot camp style. You can call it CrossFit if you want to call it CrossFit. Our last workout, and we try to do partner and team workouts. That way you're not by yourself doing something. Especially, and they're programmed. They're very hard workouts, but they're scalable for people who aren't as fit where they want to be, or they have some kind of injury that they can't do, such as you can't use the dumbbell. Okay, you can do body weight squats instead of goblet squats, or
So what does the 112 stand for?
So the 112, I was going back and forth, just trying to use my creative mind and think of a name. So I knew I kind of wanted to use either like movement or fitness, something in that, and trying to see how I could tie myself into it. And so 112 is the atomic number for an element. I believe it's pronounced copernicium.
Yeah.
I'm probably butchering that.
Probably some guy who found it. His name was Cooper.
It's made in a lab, and it's a radioactive element. That's all I kind of know about it. But the atomic number is 112. But the symbol for it is CN, and my initials are CN, Collin Nichols.
I like it.
So yeah, that's kind of where the 112 comes from. But it sounds kind of cool. It looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it has a little hidden meaning behind it.
Yeah, it's probably some weird radioactive isotope they make bombs out of or something crazy. Those lab people. Yeah. Always trying to make bombs.
It has a half-life of 30 seconds, I think. I found that out. I don't know,
Not even sure what that means.
Not sure what it means.
It's got that half-life. No, I think that's its rate of breakdown in a system, whatever that system be. But that means half of the isotope or half of its quantity is completely gone within 30 seconds of whatever it was. That's interesting, man. So these workouts that you're putting together, when you're trying to decide how to put them together, because this is something that I don't know if people who aren't trainers will understand this, but when you're designing workouts, there's a lot more that goes into it than just, all right, we're going to pick this workout and do four of this, and we're going to do that for 10 reps and all these sets and stuff. Like, so when you're putting these workouts together, and obviously you're trying to reach a wide variety of people, and you're having these movements scalable up or down based on injury, based on ability, like what goes through your head when you're putting this together, like time wise? Is it you're trying to fill a certain time slot? Like, how long are these workouts, I guess?
So normally they're an hour long.
Okay.
And so if you go to any kind of CrossFit or movement or functional fitness gym on weekends, you find that they're normally longer workouts. And I say workout meaning your cardio session. So throughout the week, you go in, you do your warm up, you stretch, and then you lift, you do a deadlift, squat, bench, clean, power clean, whatever you do. And then you go from there. You probably do like anywhere from 8 to a 15-minute workout with different movements. On the weekends, you'll find that there's more team and partner workouts, and those range from 25 to 40 minutes. And they're just longer. It's more about metabolic conditioning at that point. So on my head, I'm trying to fill in an hour space. So these workouts, most of the time, they're 25, 35 minutes long. Everyone shows up. We do a quick introduction. I like everyone meeting each other. We'll go over the workout. These are the movements. And then I'll have people ask if there's scaling options or what do you not want to do at that point. And then the workout's 25 to 35 minutes long.
Okay.
And then as far as making the workout, it is really hard because you're trying to fill in that slot, and you want to make something that's hard that someone who is the fittest person there can do and still get a really good workout in it. And, it's really hard for them, but something that it's their very first time going to a gym or going to a workout in a year and a half, that they'll be able to scale it down and they will be able to at least move for 35 minutes.
That makes sense. Yeah. The putting together workouts can be super challenging for people because you want to like push them to that edge of what they think they're capable of, or what they maybe even push them to do something that they don't think they're capable of. You don't want to risk them getting injured, but you also want them to come back. So it's like this fine line of, I need to make you miserable to the point of loving it.
Yeah, it's where when you get done, you're still going to hate it. But after 10 minutes, you're like, oh, I feel pretty good. I might have lost a couple of people at my last workout. It was pretty rough. But it's like it's one of the things. There was bear crawls and stuff, and I'm not going to name the athlete that were there, but they were starting to struggle with the bear crawls. It's like walk instead of bear crawl, to where you're just moving. That at the end of the day, you want your body, you want to move, you want to sweat.
100%. Yeah, this is one of my favorite and least favorite things about social media, is that you can go on to Instagram and you could type in workout, and you could find some guy posting a video of a workout. Now, my least favorite part about that is you have no idea who this person is or why that workout is even worth doing, or even if it's a good workout. But you can find an infinite number of things online, and then these people try to do these super complicated, super hard workouts, and then they quit going to the gym or quit doing things after a couple of weeks because they're like just so burnt out from these super aggressive workouts. Like, for example, I used to do Julian Smith's daily pump workouts, and Julian Smith's so like, for those people who are not super familiar with exercise, CrossFit is like a whole nother breed of exercise compared to like going to the gym and lifting weights. Because going to the gym and lifting weights, you're really going there for one of two reasons. You're going there to train a specific muscle group. For maybe you're an athlete and you're trying to, for example, let's say you play football. You're going to do a very specific set of movements to increase, your core strength, your stability, your leg strength. You're going to work on things that make you agile. So you're going to have a lot of like strength exercises, but you're also going to have agility exercises. Whereas like Joe Stetics, who just passed away, it's gonna be it's all for looks. It has nothing to do with muscle function at all. It's just looks. And I was more into that because having been fat for so long and like having all the loose skin, it was basically like, how can I fill out my body to look better? Because realistically, I'll stretch and I'll do yoga for performance, but like CrossFit's like, we're gonna take Olympic style lifting and we're gonna take agility and strength and power. We're gonna put it all together with cardio. So it's like this. CrossFit scares the absolute shit out of me.
It scares a lot of people.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's super intense. And like, I've only done CrossFit one time, and it was actually at First Form. I went down there to interview for a job one time, and at the end of our job interview, we all worked out together. And it was brutal. This workout was like on the Aerodyne bike. Then it was like plate pushes / bear crawl, like pushing a 45 pound
on the ground,
plate on the ground.
Rubber plate against a rubber mat.
Yeah. And then, then sprinting back, then like, burpees, then back on the Aerodyne bike. The workout was super short, like 10, 15 minutes, but it was 10, 15 minutes of like my lungs feeling like they were going to explode. So I say all that to say, like, when you're trying to get somebody in the door with like a CrossFit style workout, I feel like I don't even know if I don't want to say that it's not for beginners, but like, how do you create something that's that intense at a beginner level because like, you're not saying it is a CrossFit workout, but it is elements of it, like the ideas of it. So like, how do you keep that in mind with these people, but also it's just as good for someone who is experienced?
Yeah. And so our slogan is where all things are possible. So we try to like, if you ever see our posts, it's always all things are possible. All things are possible. So as a beginner, a lot of people do look at it and they're like, I can't work out that hard for that long. It's like, then you don't have to work out that hard. You're going to go that long. But you don't have to work out that hard. You don't have to do those movements. And so I'll share this story. It's one of my favorite coaching stories that I have is when I was coaching at CrossFit Trenches, there was an individual there. He was older, probably in his mid to late 50s, overweight. He came in and he started CrossFit. I remember we were doing back squat one day and he couldn't go to a core squat without his heels coming up. He'd come up with his toes. So just not very good mobility, just not overall that healthy. And so I worked with him, basically just me and him for that entire hour because luckily it was a small class. And I was able to get him to sit back on his heel and actually get down to a full squat on his heels and then come back up. And he just kept coming and he was just brand new. He just didn't know what he was doing. And he would scale almost every single workout. If it had burpees, he would just do up downs, which is, feet down. You don't have to bring your chest to the ground and then you come back up. And so there's always scalable options, just body weight squats instead of using weight, all that stuff. And I remember one day we actually did a workout together because I came in, I wasn't coaching one day. So I did the workout with them and we were sitting there talking, untying our shoes after, both out of breath. And he'd tell me a story about how luckily he was that he started CrossFit, even though he's older and more out of shape because his mother just fell the other day, but he was able to pick her up.
Wow.
He's like, I wouldn't be able to do that if I wasn't working out. And so I like sharing that because it doesn't matter like your size, your weight, your height, how out of shape you are, your age, you can come in and still get an amazing workout.
Yeah.
And just because you're not doing the same amount of reps as somebody else, your heart rate at 175 beats per minute and my heart rate at 175 beats per minute, we're both still getting our heart rate to that point, no matter what we're doing, no matter how we get there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely. Like when it's funny, like trying to convince somebody, a lot of people think now that things have to be super complicated or super intense to give you a good workout. But it's like body squats could get your heart rate up above 140. And then you're in that zone 2. You're just entering into zone 2. Well, maybe you then add in a dumbbell and now you're at 160. So now you're in that zone 2, zone 3 where you're conditioning. And then eventually that drops the heart rate down back to the 140 or hardly gets you a rise at all. So it's like people don't need to do anything crazy to start. And I think you really hit on this. Just move. Just move. Like, okay, so you can't do this. Just can't do bear crawls. Just walk. just walk or, skip or something. I don't know. Just get out there and do something like, and every single client that I have, I start out the exact same. I just get them walking. And the reason I just get them walking is because I just want them to build the habit of setting time aside each day to purposefully move. And I can build on that. You walk every day for a month, 7 days a week. Well, now you've gotten in the habit of doing something active. I can then over time expand that time out to 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 60 minutes in each day as you get more, as you get better at it, by just saying, okay, now you're going to walk 30 minutes and then you're going to do these 3 movements at your house. Now, after 2 months, we're going to say, okay, now it's time to go get a gym membership and we're going to get you into the gym. Because a lot of the time I'm working with people that have to lose 50 plus pounds of weight. Yeah. So like just getting them doing anything and doing it consistently enough and like falling in love with it. And like, that's something, and like, as much as I'm not really like I don't want to say I'm not a fan of CrossFit, but as much as I don't really understand CrossFit and I'm not really like that into it, everyone who does CrossFit, like they do it almost religiously. Like they're the biggest fans of it. So there's obviously something special about it, but
I think one of the most special things, if you guys can come out, if anyone listening to this comes out to one of our workouts and come out to more than one, and if you want to go to a CrossFit gym or a functional fitness gym or even a bodyweight boot camp class, go do something, try something when you're in a class setting and go it multiple times. Don't just try it once, because you're going to start seeing familiar faces and then you're going to build that community and you're going to become best friends with people. And that's what changed my life is, I work by myself in a car all day long. I'm by myself almost all day long. So when I'm able, like, that's my getaway. That's where I go to meet my friends. And I think CrossFit's in the community, or functional fitness, movement 112. It's in the community. When you get to go look forward to a workout because you get to see so-and-so, you get to go through it together. And that's the other thing is you can go to the gym, you work out by yourself, have your headphones on, and sometimes that's good for you. You need that solitude. And that's why I like running. It gives me the solitude of when I need it. But when you have that community and you're going through the pain together, because you're doing the same thing. Yeah. Even if you're scaling the movements, you're working out for the same amount of period of time. You're still working these same muscle groups. Even if if you can't do pull-ups and you're doing ring rows or you're doing dumbbell rows, you're still working your back for 25, you're still doing the workout. So I think the community is it makes it what it is. And that's why people fall in love with it so much. And that's why I fell in love with it so much and see people fall in love with it to this day, coming to my workouts, because like I get to go see so-and-so or I get to do this.
Absolutely. And like, there is definitely something to like even having a workout partner or someone that you're consistently seeing. There's like a level of accountability there that's fantastic, because it's like, well, I need to show up for blank, right? Like if me and you were working out together, it's like, well, I can't leave Collin hanging. I can't leave him hanging at the gym by himself. And then at the same time, there's that like aspect of pushing each other to get better and like to push yourself a little harder, like having that somebody who's like, come on, go. Like that's a beautiful thing. And I've learned that by having a gym at my house and working out by myself pretty much since, I don't know, November of 2020. I haven't had I've had workout partners, and it's nothing against you people who have come and worked out with me, but hardly any of you have made it. And like, I'm not in a place where I'm working out all the time, but like, because it's hard for me to then scale back my workout of where I'm at. And I said that thing about Julian Smith, because if I were to try to hop back into that right now to the daily pump, I'd probably quit in a week, because it's like, I don't need to work out for an hour and 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. If I haven't worked out in 6 months and lifted weights in 6 months, 30 minutes is going to crush my muscles. Just getting in 50 sets. That's 5 workouts, getting in a bunch of reps in each set. Like, I'm doing all these things. Like, you don't need a lot at first to get going and to start building off of, but like, so many people are just trying to jump into these crazy, crazy things. And that's the thing that hurts me the most, is when people like give up on it and quit because it's hard. Like, I don't not do CrossFit because it's hard. I don't do CrossFit because I'm genuinely worried about hurting myself because I don't have that ability to turn it down or like slow it down. It's like I'm gonna go till I die.
Yeah, and
I'm gonna kill myself. Out here.
A lot of people will like when they come and they'll work out with me, or they'll come and do a workout with me. We won't even do it together, but we'll do the same workout. Like, I'm gonna keep up with you. I'm gonna do the same reps. I'm like, you can try.
I would try, and I would die.
And they might be stronger than me. Like I've had people that are way stronger than me come with me, but it's the aspects of doing the movements under or a set period of time, and they'll start out strong first like minute, 2 minutes, and after that the heart rate gets spiked. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So if anyone ever comes out, start out slow, and then build your heart rate from there. And that's the beautiful thing of, I think, of CrossFit functional fitness is, say you have a 10-minute workout of 10 push-ups, 20 sit-ups, 30 air squats. And you do that, that's one round through, and you do an AMRAP. So it's as many rounds, the reps as possible. If you go in there and it's your first time in a year, you can get done with 2 rounds, and that's the best of your ability for 10 minutes. I could get 8 rounds done, but we still both just worked for 10 minutes. Yes. And you just got so much better than you were before that 10 minutes. You don't look at somebody else that's been doing it for 2 years like, holy cow, they got 8 rounds and I only got 2. And don't let it discourage you. Be like, holy cow, I just did 2 rounds. Set that benchmark. And it's not where you have a set number of reps. Like if you go back to the gym for the first time in over a year, you're like, I'm going to do 6 sets of this, and I'm going to really hone in on my back. You're not going to be able to move your back. I remember I just went to the gym with one of my buddies. He's a trooper now. And we hit a leg day, and it was like your regular, like you'd squat and then leg extend. And I haven't done that in like 2.5 years. I was like, I used to do this all the time. I can do it. I couldn't walk for like 2 days after. And I'm like, I thought I was fit, but it's just
a different type.
It's just different type. I spent an hour and a half in the gym just focusing on quads, hamstring, and calves.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It wasn't a CrossFit. It wasn't like a CrossFit or a functional. It was like we went to the gym and we did your bro split of, you started with your squat, did Bulgarian split squats, and you did 3 sets of 10 of this, 4 sets of 12 of that. Yeah. And I was like, the next day I couldn't walk. I was like, oh my gosh. So it doesn't, like, just because you're fit, you can be fit in any respected area and still jumping into something new, which is great. I love trying new things, but don't think you're gonna be able to compete or do it with the best.
Yeah, that is probably the biggest thing that I learned in my one CrossFit workout is like, it does not matter if I can sit here and lift weights for 2 hours straight. A 10-minute CrossFit workout brought me to my knees. Like, and when I say that my lungs were burning, like, we've all had that. Like, you go out and it's cold outside and you get in some exercise and you literally feel like your chest is on fire. I used to remember that in the fall. Like, I lived in San Diego growing up. So like when I say it got cold,
like 68,
like at nighttime, it was like 50. Like that was real cold for us. And we play those night games in November for playoffs. And that first quarter, my lungs were always just burning.
You could taste the blood in the back of your throat.
Yes. Yeah. Little pop capillaries and stuff like that. And that's how it was for the rest of the day after a 10-minute CrossFit workout.
Yeah, so we call that Fran lungs. So
Fran lungs?
Have you ever done Fran?
No.
So Fran, there's benchmark workouts.
I've done Sally.
Yeah, so there's benchmark
Sally
workouts.
Was my least favorite person in the world.
So they're just workouts named after girls. And so Fran is 21, 15, 9. So 21 reps, 15 reps, 9 reps of thrusters and pull-ups. So thruster is a front squat to a push press.
Yes.
And so you do 21 thrusters, 21 pull-ups, 15 thrusters, 15 pull-ups, 9 thrusters, 9 pull-ups. And then so you just do that as fast as you can.
So the whole workout is only 6 sets. The first set is 21 thrusters, 21 pull-ups. Second set is 15 thrusters, 15 pull-ups. Last set, 9 of each.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And so we call it Fran lungs is because you're going as fast as possible. So there's no breaks.
So it's for time?
It's for time. And I think Noah Olson, he's a CrossFit Games athlete. So if you try this and you don't get nowhere near, it's because he's like one of the fittest people, and as in the CrossFit space in the world. But I think he got it in sub 2 minutes. But even with that, you're still like, you're breathing so fast.
Dang.
Yeah. I think it was like 158. I think I could be completely wrong. So if you look it up and I'm wrong, don't yell at me. But
that's still insane.
Yeah.
I mean, if you would have told me it was like 3-4 minutes, I'd be like, that's still pretty good.
Yeah.
Still pretty good. Yeah, like so actually explain a few of these things to me. So like I see CrossFit workouts like, and they're written a very specific way. And I don't know a whole lot about them, but like I see they have WODs, which is like workout of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like certain WODs that are like actual CrossFit, like official workout type things. Like you just said, the 21-15-9. And then, you know, you hear about like the Murph days where it's like what is a Murph again?
So Murph, and this
Murph is ex-military, right, guy?
Yeah, so it's Lieutenant Murphy. Have you ever seen Lone Survivor?
Yeah,
Mark
it's like
Wahlberg?
in honor of him,
yeah,
right?
it's in honor of Lieutenant Murphy.
Tell everybody what a Murph is.
So to your point about like how workouts don't have to be very complicated and they're still going to kick your butt, Murph is running, push-ups, pull-ups, and air squats. So you run a mile, then you do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats, and then you run a mile. But it's so to RX, so as prescribed, to do it as it's written is you wear a 20-pound weighted vest for a guy. I think 13, 15-pound weighted vest for a female is how it's like written. But go ahead and do that. I guarantee if you've never done like a CrossFit style workout, even me, I did it this year. It took me 43 minutes, I think.
Yeah, just go walk a mile with a weighted vest on. Dude, that's brutal as it is. Like I will throw on a 40-pound weight vest and turn this thing up to like 15-degree incline and 2 miles an hour. And by the end of it, my traps are killing me.
Yeah, dripping in sweat.
Yeah, like it. But so like CrossFit workouts, I understand that there is workouts where it's like, see how many rounds you can get through. There are workouts where it's for time. Then there are workouts like specific workouts like that. I see at the CrossFit games, like, I don't even know what those things are, where it's like, it almost looks like world's strongest man meets world's best in shape man, where it's like they're moving across a platform or something, or it's like they're, they're doing like barbell thrusters and then sprinting across to the end.
Yeah.
Or like picking up a sandbag and having to do like a sandbag carry and then running back. And I see this stuff and I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I don't want to do it.
Yeah. See, I was the opposite. When I saw it, I was like, oh, I want to do that. Like, that looks cool. But like to your point, so CrossFit workouts, there's like triplets, couplets. Those are just adding movements together. And then you have AMRAPs, so as many rounds or reps as possible. You have EMOMs, which is every minute on the minute.
Okay.
So you start a clock. You have, say you're going to do 10 pull-ups and then 20 push-ups. So 3, 2, 1, go. You do 10 pull-ups and then you rest the rest of the minute. The next minute starts. You do your 20 push-ups. Whenever you get done with those, you rest for the rest of that minute. And it's just, say you're going to do 30 minutes, so you're going to get 15 rounds of each done. And so it's built-in rest within it, which is nice because in an AMRAP, it's you're going. You rest when you want to or when you can. EMOM has that built-in rest, but you're going to get a certain amount of work done between then. And then you have workouts that are for time. So you have a set number of reps and rounds of something that you're going to do, like France, the 21-15-9. You're going to, no matter what, you're going to get this done. However fast you can get it done is on you. So a lot of the workouts that I've been putting on, every single one of them, one of them was an EMOM. And then most of them are AMRAPs, though, just because it gives, as a partner or a team, it gets everybody to work for the same amount of time and just get as much work as you can get done in that time.
Okay.
The one thing about 4-time workouts, especially with new people, is if you go in and you do a 4-time workout like Fran, if I went and did Fran and then someone who's never done CrossFit came in and did Fran, they would probably take 8 to 10 minutes, maybe even longer than that. And if I get done and they watch me get done 5 to 10 minutes faster than them, they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, yeah, I can't get to that point. When you can, but it just takes the time. But it's kind of frustrating because I've been there when I started out. You see these super fit people. And you're like, holy cow. But
it's that comparison is the thief of joy.
Thief of joy.
It'll just that's a big thing in the fitness industry is like, if I were to look at you and be like, man, Collin's jacked, and then look at what I do and be like, well, why don't I look like Collin? Well, and then I try to do all the things that you do and I can't do them as well as you. Well, it's going to ruin what I'm trying to do in the first place. And then this kind of comes into that as well. I think Jordan Peterson says one of his rules in his second book is like, don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself, where it says like, compare yourself not to who you were yesterday or something like that, but who you could be today. Or I'm butchering it. Maybe I'll figure it out and remember it and I'll say it the correct way. I have it on one of the paintings upstairs in my house, but it's just one of those things that it's like, if you're constantly comparing yourself to what somebody's today is, you're always going to fall short of that. It's like, well, who can you be tomorrow? Like, or who were you yesterday? So
yeah, like that's in all of my posts that I've posted is like, come and be a better you. Like,
Yeah.
come to the workout, do a workout, and you're going to feel better after. I guarantee you. You might hurt and you're going to be sore. No matter what you do, if you come and work out, the goal is to get sore. You're building muscle.
Yeah.
You know, and you're going to sweat and you're going to feel like crap for the 25 minutes that it's going on. But afterwards, you're going to feel great. You're going to make friends. It's going to be awesome. But with that being said, it comes into also what I've also learned in genetics. Like, some people are just more genetically gifted than others, you know,
Yeah.
or 100%. Like my brother, like some people look at me and like, oh, you're fit. I'm like, you should see what my brother could be. And luckily he just started training about 2 months ago. He actually just started CrossFit, started training again. But I think after 2.5 weeks of him actually training again, he already had a 6-pack again. I'm like, what in the world? Like, it took me so long to get to that point. And I remember we did a competition together. And
I'd be so mad.
Oh my, he trained for 2 weeks before we did our competition together. That's all he did. Like CrossFit training 2 weeks prior. The day before we did our competition, we had an event that had handstand walking in it. And I practiced for months to be able to walk like 25 feet. Then I got my coach certification, got better. So I can now teach people how to do it. And I've gotten way better at it. But I was like, hey, Chase, you know, like if you can't get it, like it's not a big deal. We're doing this to have fun. We want to prove ourselves right to be able to do something that we didn't think we could do. Just with you only train for 2 hours. We go out to the football field and within like 15 minutes, this dude's handstand walking like 15 yards. And I'm like, this took me forever. So if you're getting into the fitness space and you're looking at, just don't compare yourself to others.
Yeah.
Because you don't know who's using performance enhancing drugs.
Yeah.
You don't know what the genetics are of those other people. And some goals just aren't realistic.
Yeah. Go get yourself some TRT,
Yeah.
everyone.
Just get jacked.
Just get yourself on the sauce. You'll be good to go. Yeah. So tell me, what is the most brutal workout you've ever done? Like CrossFit workout? Is it like one of the legendary ones, or is it just like you ever show up to a class and you're like, dude, this was one of those days that made me question my life decisions?
Man, there's been a couple. I would say one of the hardest, but I'd say this is the hardest one just because of where my heart rate got to. But one of the coolest and most memorable workouts I've had to this point was my first competition I was doing. It was a partner competition. So you have a partner. And I remember you had to do like 25 calories on the Echo bike. And then you had to overhead lunge they call it, I can't remember exact, cross body over. So you had one dumbbell here, and you did lunges down, I think 25 feet or so, or 75 feet. So you went down, back down. After you got done with that, you had a certain amount of time left. Whatever time you had left, you had to do as many box jump overs as possible. So you just sat there and you jumped over box back and forth. And so I did a round, partner did a round, and then we did a round together. And we were on the last round of box jump overs. And so this is a competition. Like I'm trying to get at it. We're trying to win. And I was doing box jump overs and I was going so fast. I don't remember actually, but after we got done, I laid down. I blacked out for a second. I was like, I feel like I just blacked out. Like how hard was it? And I wear like a fitness watch. And so I like checked my heart rate after we went and sat down, started recovering, and my heart rate got to 201 beats per minute.
I mean, that's max heart rate.
Yeah, I was at max heart rate because I was just sending, and I was just like, I gotta get as many as we can.
Yeah,
and so that one was
that's crazy.
It was hurting because I was just going as fast as I could, and it's just getting that pain cave and just blinders on.
Yeah,
in that dark place and just go after it. But it was one of the coolest things I ever done. I was like, holy cow! I've never sent it like that in anything. And it was really cool to see that my body was able to do that before my mind quit.
Yeah, seriously, like that's super impressive. Like, who knows how long you had that sustained that max heart rate? Maybe your watch told you. Like, the max I've been able to get mine up to was 197, Ooh. And I did it doing squats actually. So I was doing reps. I was doing set to 225, set to 10, and I was doing it as an EMOM. So essentially, you do 225 for 10 on the squat rack. Whatever's left in your minute, you get to rest, and then you got to try to do it again.
Like 15, 20 seconds probably.
Yeah, so it was pretty brutal. Like at the time, I was able to squat quite a bit, and I was in pretty good shape. But I hit 197 just doing like a traditional bodybuilding workout, doing that, and I had like that feeling, that rush of having my heart rate up that high. Like I I remember doing the calculation. I was like 220 minus my age, like simple calculation. I was like, that's max heart rate.
Yeah.
Like for me, you hit over 200.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Max. Yeah, it was max heart. And it was a watch, so it's on my wrist. Probably not 100% correct,
they're pretty
but they're
accurate
pretty
for
good.
heart rate.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, I read a study. I think the watches for heart rate are like between 99 and 98, 99% accurate for heart rate. Where they're terrible at is like estimated calories burned.
Yeah, I never look at that.
Yeah, what I started doing for mine is like, because they'll adjust how many calories you're estimated to burn based on like your height, weight, and age, plus like your heart rate data. So I always set mine like 100 pounds lighter than what I am, so that it projects it much, much lower. And that seemed to have helped quite a bit with like keeping that down to give me a more accurate reading.
Now, do you track your calories, what you eat?
Not right now. So I kind of just eat whatever I want, but I just don't really eat horrible food
Just
that often.
consciously know what you're putting into your body.
Yeah, like I mean, I'll still smash a donut.
Yeah,
but like
they're
at the
my
same
favorite.
time, like what I ate for lunch today was literally like a tomato sandwich, like an old man. Like,
Yeah,
I've got a grip of tomatoes growing, so I had some tomatoes in the fridge and I had some sourdough bread. So I was like, I'm just gonna eat a tomato sandwich. Like it's nothing too crazy. There's probably like 400, 500 calories in it. I can eat somewhere around like, without exercising, I can eat somewhere between like 2,900 and 3,100 a day just to keep my body weight on. So that's a lot of calories if you're eating
but
fairly
you're a big
clean.
guy, so if you're 5'8" and you're 170 pounds, you probably don't need
No,
30.
not at all. And like my entire like thought behind weight loss is, if the habits that created the change are not sustainable, then the results will not be maintainable. So I try to make it as easy as possible on people, and I get them thinking time blocks and calorie blocks. So if I tell them, hey, between wake up and 12 p.m., 100 calories or less. So you want to have a coffee, whatever it is, 100 calories or less. And now these numbers are all based on what I estimate their weight loss calories to be. So let's just say, for example, this person wants to lose weight aggressively. So we set their calories at like 1,600 to 1,800. And that's kind of their window. 1,600 on their days that they don't work out, 1,800 on their days that they do work out.
That's aggressive.
Yeah. So like it's somebody who is maybe their TDEE is somewhere around like 2,600. So they're in 1,000 calorie deficit per day. They're wanting to lose 2.5 to 3 pounds a week. And they can maybe afford to. So if that is what they're going to do, and I say, okay, 100 calories between wake up and noon, then I ask them, do you prefer to eat a larger lunch or a larger dinner? I prefer to eat a larger dinner. Okay. So now we've got 1,500 calories. So I tell them, make sure your lunch is somewhere between 600 and 700 calories. That leaves you 800 to 900 calories for dinner. So then I just get them thinking in time blocks of like, eat your lunch sometime between noon and 3, eat your dinner sometime between 5 and 7. These are your calorie limits. Don't focus so much first on what the quality of your food is. Get them focused more on the calorie of their food and give them a few simple rules to follow, like whole foods only, meaning you got to, and my other thing is I ask every single client for the first 30 days to make everything that they eat, or no eating out at least. You can't eat out for the first 30 days because I need people to learn what goes into their food so they can learn to respect the food and learn to have a better relationship with it, and also learn like you don't need to dip everything in ranch. You don't need to have everything fried, that you can create flavor without tons and tons of calories, kind of reset their palates and taste buds. So like even me personally, like when I'm doing weight loss for myself, it really depends on my goals. So I will take really aggressive cuts for short periods of time. And that's kind of where I try to get my clients focused in, is like, if you only have 30, 40 pounds to lose, we can be more aggressive. But that means we're going to do this for a shorter time period. So we're going to take this really aggressive 30 to 45 days. And then we're going to take 2 weeks of kind of rest where we kind of eat maintenance and focus on getting in good quality workouts, let the body recover. And then we're going to hit it really aggressive again. And then we're going to have like a period of time where we're doing it. We'll go through these cycles of 30 to 45 days. Whereas like if I have someone who's like me who need to lose 185 pounds, we're going to take a slower and steadier approach. We can still set them in 1,000 calorie deficit because their TDEE might be like 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day because of how much mass they have. So it's all really based on what they need to do. And what I've learned is the simpler I can make it, and I've really narrowed it down to like just a few rules, that if you can follow these rules, you'll be okay. And me personally, right now, I would say I'm not doing as good with my own rules as I should. But at the same time, I'm not necessarily, I'm in a weird place right now of trying to figure out how do I get back into exercise without constantly hurting myself.
Yeah.
And that's been tough. And I'm sure like you just had surgery. And as you start to work back into things, like I'm not sure how that's going to affect you as much, but and you're only 22, dude. You could probably go out.
I'm healing pretty well. Luckily for me, and having surgery, it's kind of been rough because I haven't been able to do the traditional stuff I want to do, but I'm still able to move. And the first couple of days hurt pretty bad. I remember I went out on a walk the day after. I was like, I'm just going to walk and see what I can do. I was walking like a 35 to 40 minute per mile pace. So I walked like an hour and a half. I just went out and I just walked.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very comfortable, but I did it. Then today I can walk pretty normal. I'm walking in 19 to 20 minute per mile pace, which is pretty normal for me. If I just go out for a walk, I'll throw on my weighted vest and just go out for a walk. I can do some banded stuff. So I'll grab my band, do some curls. And
I saw you
post
post that.
I can stand there and do some flies. So I can still work out, not kind of how I want to or where I want to be, but it's really shown me like, don't take your healthy body for granted. Even if right now, if you're listening and you're not at the fitness point of where you want to be, if you're healthy, don't take that for granted. Like go start doing something. Because people always ask me like why I work out so much, and I'll tell them an answer. Sometimes I think that's funny, but I was like, at the end of the day, when I'm 70 years old, I want to be able to play football with my grandkids. You know, I want to be able to throw a football around. And then my girlfriend showed me this video today of this old couple, I mean, probably late 70s. They're at the beach, like splashing each other, running down through the water. And I'm like, that's what I want to be like when I'm that old. I want to be able to run through the water at 70. And that's not unrealistic if you stay in shape and actually use your body.
Yeah. I mean, what's his face? The guy who's running for president, Robert Kennedy Jr.
He's fit.
Dude, he's jacked.
He's jacked.
Have you seen the videos of him working out in jeans though?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh my gosh. Every time I see someone working out in jeans, I'm like, you didn't have time. Like, you don't own a pair of gym shorts. Like, what's going on?
At least cut him to jorts, you know?
Yeah, like
maybe he just doesn't hit leg day.
And they're not even like jeans that have a little spandex in them. Those are like straight up Lee's originals. Like those aren't. They got no give
straight
to them at all.
Straight from Orscheln's. Straight from the work section.
But yeah, you know, you see some folks out here in the Midwest with some suspect workout gear.
Yeah.
I saw a guy, instead of wearing like a workout belt, he just had like his tool belt without the actual like belt bags on it. Like it was not a workout brand. It was definitely like a brand you see it at Orscheln or you see it, you know, Tractor Supply, it's a hammer company. And I'm looking at him like, whatever
awesome.
Works for you, guy.
Hey, at the end of the day, I'm getting some movement and working out.
Yeah.
You know?
And if you got to go in jeans, go in jeans. Just don't wear flip-flops.
Yeah, don't wear flip-flops.
And
try not to wear boots.
I hope I'm not triggering you or anybody else. Don't be the guy working out barefoot.
Yeah, I don't like the whole barefoot thing. No. The only thing I do barefoot is yoga. Yeah. That's what I'll do barefoot. That's the extent of that.
Yeah, you're kind of supposed to do that pretty much barefoot, except they do make those like special yoga socks, got a little grippies on the bottom.
Kind of like the Sky Zone or, you know, the jumping park socks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Yoga has been so like, that's another thing. I think a lot of people like have this preconceived notion of like what certain things are. Like I have a preconceived notion of what CrossFit is. And because I don't do it enough, I don't really understand it. And yoga is one of those things I feel like gets a really bad rap because you can do yoga every day. And I mean, it's essentially calisthenics that is, rather than it being calisthenics that you're moving it's isometric calisthenics. So it's, getting into a position and holding it. And the amount of pressure that puts on your body and your muscles and joints, one of the best things that you can do for yourself. I love when people tell me, I'm going to do yoga. I'm like, great, but actually do it. Like,
do yoga.
Yeah. Like, don't half-ass it. Like, get in there and try to hold that warrior one in a proper way. Like, put the pressure on the outside of your feet.
Don't put on a YouTube video at your home and be like, I'll kind of do it. Like, go to a yoga class and do it. Go try hot yoga. I love hot yoga.
Yeah.
And sweating like that, it's awesome.
Where do you go around here?
Here, I haven't gone anywhere here. I go to Columbia. My girlfriend has a spot, so I'll go up there.
I think there's a place down in Wentzville that opened up that's like a hot yoga place. I
think you might be
like
right.
Pizza Ranch or something.
I think you might be right, because I think they're doing like a special. Like, if you come to a class, you get so many freaks. I think my mom went and did that. But I definitely want to find a spot, because it is awesome. It's just so good to be flexible, be able to do something. And if you're trying to find that one thing you want to do, just find something that's sustainable for you. Just like you were talking about with your diet. Like, if most people ask me like, hey, can I follow the diet you follow? I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
Like, why not? Because I eat the same thing every single day, almost every single meal, but it works for me. And,
but at the same time, like, that's what I tell my clients to essentially do that within limitation. Like, find yourself 3 or 4 meals that you enjoy and kind of cycle through them. Like, if you have a million choices what you can eat, the big issue with that is that there's this fear of missing out of like, well, I'm not eating that, or I saw that John posted about this new burrito place, or I saw that, Sandy posted about this new burger place and all these things. And then it turns into this like, well, I got to try it all. I got to have all these things. Variety is not great for your system. Like, eating a high variety diet is not super good for your system. And if you think about the way that human beings have lived for centuries, millennium, we lived and basically ate out of the ecosystem in which we lived. Like, until refrigeration, until we've had these huge global supply chains, you weren't ordering in all these crazy foods from all over the world. It's like, I don't know, I live in an area with a lot of squirrels, so I'm eating squirrels. Like, it's like, it's what I'm doing. Or I can grow potatoes in this soil, so I'm gonna eat a lot of potatoes. And we now have the options to eat all these different things all throughout the year. And this high variety puts a lot of stress on our system. And when you get consistent with eating the same type of meal, pretty much, like, what I tell people is pick a protein, pick a carb, pick a vegetable, make a meal out of it. I would eat chicken, potatoes, broccoli. I would eat beef, rice, peppers, like meat, whole food meat, whole food starch, carbohydrate, whole food this. I'm doing all of the processing myself for the most part, and I'm eating it. And when you do that, then you get consistent with how your body feels, and then you understand when it doesn't feel right.
You can make little adjustments from there.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, great, I can eat chicken, potatoes, and broccoli every single day, and I can put on different sauces or different spices to make it taste a little different. And like,
and a little bit goes a long way, people. Just a little bit.
Yeah. And like, the big thing though, and I think that you are one of those people that could attest to this, is like, you start to understand the way that your body is speaking to you, because you're being consistent with the foods you're putting in you. And for the first time, maybe for some people, they start to understand what it feels like to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
I think so many people just walk around feeling like dog crap all day, and they don't understand what it feels like to eat food that makes them feel good, because they're constantly dealing with inflammation from the dairy and the processed grains that they eat and things like that. Or, cheap, gross vegetables rather than like frozen vegetables rather than buying fresh vegetables.
Yeah, fresh.
Or growing what you can.
Yeah. Like, and if like everyone's wondering, this is kind of what I eat in a day. So like, I wake up and I drink AG1. If you ever heard of Athletic Greens? So I'll drink that first thing in the morning, just get greens in me, because I am very bad about getting greens into my system, like with my food. And I'm still trying to get better than that at that. But before, like, I went on vacation for like a week and a half before I came back and then got my surgery. So like right now it's crazy. I actually feel better now post surgery than I did on my vacation, because I'm back on my diet. I'm like eating what I'm used to eating. So I'll wake up and then I have like 3 eggs and some toast, and I'll probably put like some powdered peanut butter spread over top of it. And then I'll eat chicken and rice, and I'll put some sugar-free barbecue sauce. I'll eat that twice. So I'll have kind of like, like 500 to 600 calories ish. And then I'll have beef and rice. And then that's kind of my dinner. I like having beef, some kind of red meat in, just get some more macronutrients. And then after that, I'll have a couple hundred calories to kind of maybe have a snack. I'll put like some powdered peanut butter. And if I need more protein, I'll put a scoop of protein. Mix together, makes this little sludge. It tastes good.
Yeah.
It satisfies my sweet tooth. I love sweets. I love donuts, ice cream, all that. So it keeps me satiated. But I eat that almost every single day. And it's easy because I actually weigh out and track everything I eat. And for some people, they can't do that because it will develop an eating disorder. But for me, it actually helps me. Like it shows me this is the fuel I'm putting into my body. And I've like changed my perspective. Like this is the fuel I'm putting into my body. My tank is only so full. I can only put so much fuel in my body. I don't need to keep filling it up.
Yeah.
So it lets me track everything I eat. And doing it day by day, I use MyFitnessPal, the app. But I can go in and I did it this morning. Even though I don't have to anymore because I eat the same thing, I'll still go and I put in everything I eat. But it's like takes 5 clicks because I use same as yesterday, same as yesterday, same as yesterday, same as yesterday. And all my food that I'm going to eat for that day is already in there. But it still gives me that reassurance for my mental clarity of like, okay, I'm on track. Like I'm good.
Yeah. And it creates a workflow almost for you that you get to like, you get that almost little dopamine reaction of like, I completed task 1. I completed task 2. And that's good for you. Like it's cathartic in a way because it helps you stay on track and stay motivated and keep doing it. And I personally, like when I do have a goal in mind, I am the same way. I'm literally tracking every calorie that goes in my body. And the reason I am is because if I have a goal that I'm working towards, what doesn't get measured doesn't get managed. So you can't manage your weight loss if you don't know what's going in you. And personally, I ask most of my clients, at least for the first 30 days, to track their food so they can start to understand it. I also ask them to take foods that they would eat commonly and weigh out one portion, like use a scale, set it to grams, weigh out a portion so that you can start learning to eyeball things a little bit better too, so that when you do go out to eat, when you do want a snack, you can look at something and make a reasonable and informed decision on how much and what you should eat, without having to take your scale and be the person at the restaurant who's like, let me put this on the scale and see how much it weighs and do all this.
Yeah.
Like,
I can go to, like, I've been doing it for years now, so I can look at something and be like, it's probably about that. And I'm probably pretty close to it. Yeah. I'm not going to be exact, but those are things like if you're going to make the sacrifice and you can, and you can put it into yourself and it's okay for you to go out and eat, then go ahead and do it. And one thing I was listening to Nick Bear. I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah.
So the Bear.
What nutrition company?
BPN.
Yeah.
So
BPN.
I have it tattooed right here. Go one more. It's kind of their slogan.
Is that his
yeah.
thing?
It's like their thing.
Yeah.
But he has a podcast, the Bear Performance Podcast. And he has he has other people, nutritionists on. And one thing a nutritionist that talked on his podcast talked about, which I never even thought of, and which is funny because I recently just started doing this, is when you go to a restaurant, if you get a steak from Texas Roadhouse, ask for it to be cooked with no oil and no butter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And ask if they have, so when I go to Texas Roadhouse now, if I get a steak, I'm like, can I have it cooked with no oil and no butter? They're like, yeah, sure. You might get a weird look, but who cares? Like, you're trying to be healthier. And then if you're going to get ranch with your salad, see if they have low fat ranch.
Yeah.
If you go to a Mexican restaurant, I remember the first time I did it, I went to a Mexican restaurant and I got like the chicken fajita. It's grilled chicken with peppers but it's all cooked in oil.
Yeah.
And it's probably not as healthy as you actually think it is. And so I was like, hey, can I have this cooked without oil or butter? And they looked at me, they're like, no oil? Like, no oil. I'm like, okay. And they brought it out and there was no oil and it tasted amazing. And I was like, this is so much better for me than how many 100 calories for a tablespoon of olive oil.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's
and
90.
I'm sure a lot of those restaurants that you go to aren't using like extra virgin olive oil. I'm sure they're using just vegetable, like
canola oil.
Yeah. The cheapest stuff they can get and they're dumping it on there. So
yeah, and like I think a lot of people don't understand how many calories are actually in the foods that we eat out, especially at a restaurant like that where it's not a fast food where they're required to put like how many calories in each thing. Like if you were to go to a Chinese food place and you were to order something, it's gonna have a quarter cup of oil in it, like
half a pound of butter.
Yeah, like if you were to get a fried rice. Even if you're like, oh, it's got chicken fried rice, it's got carrots and peas in there. It's so good for
chicken,
me.
rice, and vegetables.
Yeah, it's like, dude, there's a quarter cup of oil in that rice to turn it brown.
And have you ever been to a hibachi place where they cook in front of you? Like, watch
so
them.
Much oil.
Watch them cook it. They take in just a teriyaki sauce They pour it on there. And they take a whole thing of butter and throw it on top of the rice.
Yeah.
And I've gotten way better like living life. And
Yes.
ever since I fixed my eating disorder, I'm okay with eating out. And like, I will go, like, one of my favorite things to do is on Sundays, me and my girlfriend will get frozen yogurt. I prefer it over ice cream, but it's also healthier, which is a plus. But I get an obscene amount. Like, I get the biggest cup and I fill it to the amount, I fill it to the top and then more. Like, it's an obscene amount of frozen yogurt that I eat. But that's something that I'm willing to do. And with that, you know, I can actually still kind of wait because they weigh it for you. I'm like, I know how much frozen yogurt I'm eating, which is cool. But you're going to have to learn how to live life and make those choices. Like, okay, it's okay. I'm going to go out and I'm going to enjoy this experience with my friends and my family and eat this really good food. And I'm going to be okay with it.
That's what you should name your podcast, an obscene amount of frozen
obscene
yogurt.
amount of frozen yogurt. So it's funny. I'm making my website right now for Movement 112, and I have like a meet your coach section, and I have like likes and dislikes, and in my likes is frozen yogurts and donuts.
Yeah.
My dislikes is automated telemarketers.
Oh, gotta hate those people.
Yeah.
Before we leave, do you have time to talk about the extended warranty on your car? Hey, I really appreciate you coming on to the podcast and being vulnerable and sharing everything. Is there anything else that we missed that you want to talk about with Movement 112, your coaching, anything like that you want to get out there to everybody that we didn't touch on?
I don't think so. But thank you for having me on. I love being able to share kind of like my story. And
absolutely.
Hopefully, if you guys are listening, you can follow me. My Instagram handle is at coach_Collin JN. And then you can follow Movement 112 and you can find me through there at MVMNT112. So Movement 112, it's not spelled out movement, but MVMNT112 on Facebook and Instagram.
I'll try to put those in the show notes for everybody if they want to check it out. And if you're in the St. Louis area and you're interested in trying out a Movement 112 class, like he said, these are free for the time being.
For right now, they're free. If
you want to donate, that helps.
Yeah, it does help, especially getting new equipment. I'm not taking any profit out of it right now. It's just half the money is going to new equipment so we can have better and more options for movements and workouts. And then half the money is going to a scholarship fund to Journey Church to help people go on a mission trip to Burundi, Africa. Awesome. So Saturdays at 8 a.m. as of right now. I know last week my brother and my dad went and competed, so we had the workout on a Friday evening. So just follow the Facebook page. That way it's always going to be posted on there when they're going to be.
Awesome. So. Well, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. And I will try to make sure I get your social media info written down here so I can put it in the show notes for everybody.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.